What it is, family? What's up? So we looked at the origins of separation. We looked at the atonement as the defense, and now we look at the altar of God, section 3. Let's jump right into it. Try to get done with it as quick as we can and as effectively and as edifyingly as possible. The atonement can only be accepted within you by releasing the inner light. The light is on the inside. You've been looking for the light, looking for the love in all the wrong places. Turn, look inward, and there you will find what you have always sought since even before you knew what it was that you was looking for. Since the separation, defenses have been used almost entirely to defend against the atonement. The very defenses that you and I make in an attempt to save ourselves from the mess that we've made, absence of the reconciliation that has already been extended to us by the divine entity that created us and gave us dominion. The very things that we attempt to utilize to keep us safe, leave us vulnerable, and actually operate as a defense mechanism against the atonement working on our behalf. Since the separation, defenses have been used almost entirely to defend against the atonement and thus maintain the separation. This is generally seen as a need to protect the body. The many body fantasies in which mind engage arise from the distorted belief that the body can be used as a means for attaining atonement. Don't even trip. Don't act like that don't apply to you, especially if you practice any form of religion, because you following that list of rules, you following those do's and don'ts, you giving your money and giving of your time and giving of your service to others, you believe that that is bringing you or has brung you or will take you to some type of atoning moment where you and God will be reconciled based on your own man-made acts. But it's not by your man-made acts. It's not by your merit. It's not because you have earned and deserved it. It's love. The atonement is an act of love, remember? There's no prerequisite to it being extended. You can't destroy it. All you can do is refuse it, and even in the refusal of it, you don't remove it from existence. Perceiving the body as a temple is only the first step in correcting this distortion, because it alters only part of it. It does recognize that atonement in physical terms is impossible. Seeing your body as a temple begins the edification, begins the corrective process of you coming into a realization, a true knowledge that your body cannot provide for you an atonement with a supernatural deity that is alive on the inside of you, just waiting for you. It does recognize that the atonement in the physical terms is impossible. The next step, however, is to realize that a temple is not a structure at all. It's not a building. In a building not made by man. It's not a building. It's not made by man. This is something else. This temple that we speak of, this dwelling place of a supernatural deity that is to be worshipped and upheld and viewed and esteemed highly forever, abides within a temple. And if the temple must house the eternal God, then the temple itself must be eternal. So we know we're not talking about this encasing, this envelope, this container that will one day make its way into a coffin. I am is not within our body. I am is within our very essence, within our DNA, within our makeup, within our existence, our being, our nature. Not your body. You be trying to protect your body because you think without your body, you ain't gonna be no use to God. But that's for the people who still wake up and try to find ways to serve and give to a God that already has given everything to them. The next step, however, is to realize that a temple is not a structure at all. Its true holiness lies at the inner altar around which the structure is built. The emphasis on beautiful structures is a sign of the fear of atonement. The emphasis on beautiful structures is a sign of the fear of atonement. You're still caught up in the presentation. You're still caught up in the way things appear to be. You still live under the impression that things are different. Everything is different. And you can only know what it is as you experience it and touch it hands-on. It's either real and love, or it's illusionary and false. Real, love, illusionary, false. Everything that you encounter throughout the course of a day falls in between one of those two categories. The emphasis on beautiful structures is a sign of the fear of atonement and an unwillingness to reach the altar itself. The real beauty of the temple cannot be seen with the physical eye. Spiritual sight, on the other hand, cannot see the structure at all because it is perfect vision. It can, however, see the altar with perfect clarity. Check this out. For perfect effectiveness, the atonement belongs at the center of the inner altar, where it undoes the separation and restores the wholeness of the mind. Before the separation, the mind was invulnerable to fear. Before you adopted the false concept of separation, fear couldn't even get to you. Fear definitely wasn't something that you were creating for yourself, because you desperately wanted to know what was coming, and you desperately wanted to know how to define the things behind you, to the point that even when you didn't know, you just pretended and lied, pretended and assumed, made something up, found evidence in front of you to confirm what it was that you thought was true, and promoted it and professed it as loud as you could to as many people as you could reach. Both the separation and the fear are miscreations that must be undone for the restoration of the temple. Both fear and separation are illusions, and all illusions must die in order for the temple to function and flow the way it was designed. You can't even get your attention to the inner court. You can't even get in the inside interior altar of God, which is inside of you in the temple, because you are distracted with so many other things that you can see, so many other things that you feel, so many other things that you hear. And you're always making a plan to get to the inner court, always making a plan to go into the closet, go into the prayer room, to go in and to do the hard work, to go and to knock down the walls, the barriers to love, to go and to restore those broken, traumatic parts of you that have connected with the bad experiences that you've held on to and harbored from your past. You're always getting ready to go do the work that matters, but you're always distracted doing what matters none at all. And what matters none at all is never done, so you never finished or completed that to actually get over into the spiritual work that you're always postponing for the tangible, carnal, fleshly world that you love to serve. And for the opening of the altar to receive the atonement, this heals the separation by placing within you the one effective defense against all separation thoughts and making you perfectly invulnerable. The acceptance of the atonement by everyone is only a matter of time. Everyone will be reconciled back with their original creator and original design at some point or another. Stop buying into this lie that you will get left behind. Stop buying into this lie that some of us will end up in a ribbon in the sky, like Rod Wave said, and some of us are headed to a lake of fire to be eternally tormented with Satan himself. This may appear to contradict free will because of the inevitability of the final decision, but this is not so. You can temporize, and you are capable of enormous procrastination, but you cannot depart entirely from your Creator. You can build false fantasy worlds all you want. You can procrastinate all you would like, but what you cannot do is alter your identity in truth. You can alter what you believe your identity is. You can change who they believe you are, but you cannot alter who your Creator created you as. You don't have that type of power. I understand that you like to feel like you do. I get that it makes you feel superior and you get to poke your chest out and you can go and dye your hair. You can change your hairstyle. You can bleach your skin. You can get some acne, acne remover. You can do all kind of things to play with your appearance. But who you are, in essence, in nature, is unchangeable. Who set the limits on your ability to miscreate? An imprisoned will engenders a situation which, in the extreme, becomes altogether intolerable. Tolerance for pain may be high, but it is not without limit. Eventually, everyone begins to recognize, however dimly, that there must be a better way. Coming out of religion, that's exactly the statement that I started making to myself. I ran into Veron Ash online, and his message of there has to be more captivated me. And I began to look at the lowly vibrating principles that we say that such a highly and good God left us to learn and abide by. And that is ultimately the call that I heard from within. There has to be more. There has to be more than coming to the church, sitting on the pew, clapping your hands, standing up when the pastor say, marching around the offering table, singing in the choir, ushering in the back, eating refreshments after, and gossiping when you get to the house. There just has to be more. There has to be more than messages about the same thing from the Bible that are consistently changing, contradictions that are never being addressed, prayer circles where the requests are constantly on repeat because we don't know how to get the results that we're seeking, even though we know how to operate in the form and we know how to speak as though we will. As this recognition becomes more firmly established, it becomes a turning point. This ultimately reawakens spiritual vision, simultaneously weakening the investment in physical sight. The alternating investment in the two levels of perception is usually experienced as conflict. The alternating investment in two levels of perception is usually experienced in conflict, which can become very acute, but the outcome is as certain as God. So right here, A Course in Miracles is letting us know that as you begin to make the shift, as you begin to see clearly, as you take off the blinders, as you drop the scales, as you rip the veil, as you move beyond the darkness and ignorance that has plagued your life up to this point, as you begin to walk in the light, as you introduce yourself with the true nature of yourself, it's going to get shaky. There are going to be conflicts. But the conflicts are not because there's a Satan who would love to keep you from partnering with God. And these are external beings who are in war with each other and they're fighting over you because you're so important. No. The conflict comes from within. The conflict comes from the fact that you are adopting new ideologies, new principles, new lines of wisdom and knowledge that are based in truth and fact. But you come equipped with some old paradigms. You come equipped with some old beliefs. They get together and they don't mesh. So sometimes you get taken to the left and sometimes you get taken to the right. But understand, this storm shall pass. Sit still. Know that all is well. And know that everyone will be restored to their proper awareness of the reconciled state that we share with God through the Son, I am, who abides within us. Spiritual vision literally cannot see error and merely looks for atonement. Your spiritual vision does not look for errors. It doesn't look for mistakes. It doesn't look for people being flaky, backstabbers, haters, envy, jealousy. Your spiritual sight looks for one thing. It looks for the atonement. It looks for the evidence that God and you have been reconciled through the Son that lives within you. It looks for the signs. But you've trained yourself also to wake up first thing in the morning and begin looking for what's wrong, looking for what's off, looking for what's not right, looking for what's not the same, looking for what's not familiar, looking for what you can't explain, looking for what's interesting. And it's crazy that you, like, literally are equipped with I am. You come equipped with the abundance of life on the inside of you. And you're never genuinely interested with the true you. You have to create imaginations in your ego. You have to create fantasies and illusions. You have to put yourself slapped in the middle of delusional situations in your head, pictures, in order for you to be fascinated with yourself, in order for you to be interested in yourself. And that's crazy. It lets you know that our spiritual vision is not being utilized. Our sight, our physical sight, is what we've relied on to this point. All solutions the physical eye seeks dissolve. Spiritual vision looks within and recognizes immediately that the altar has been defiled and needs to be repaired and protected. Perfectly aware of the right defense, it passes over all the others, looking past error to the truth. You've been wasting time. You've been going in to this double-minded state of mind that you've operated from, where you attack yourself and don't even know it. And you've been pulling out elements of this state of consciousness, like fear or anger or bitterness or resentment. And it's like, this year I'm gonna rid myself of fear. And 365 days later, you're exhausted. You know a bit more about yourself. You know a bit more about fear. But there are still moments that you can't stop it from coming. But rather than identify that you've done it once again and you've set a long-term goal that you can never even measure to meet, you do it again. You find another marker, you find another miss, so that you can apply more of your misidentified self to correcting it, so that you can come back to the collective and say, I was lost, but now I am found because I did X, Y, and Z. Then you can package it up and sell it. Perfectly aware of the right defense, it passes over all the others, looking past error to the truth. Because of the strength of its vision, it brings the mind into its service. This reestablishes the power of the mind and makes it increasingly unable to tolerate delay. Realizing that it only adds unnecessary pain. As a result, the mind becomes increasingly sensitive to what it would once have regarded as very minor intrusions of discomfort. You used to be good at tolerating pain. I used to sit down as an 18, 19-year-old and get tattooed and go to sleep. Now, when I get under that needle, I feel it and I'm ready to get it over with. Because back then I didn't have the consciousness, the awareness. I wasn't in tune with truth. Back then I was telling myself that things didn't hurt because I thought that to not hurt during hurtful times was to be tough. It used to hurt back then. I just used to put myself in a state of mind where I couldn't feel it. I could only feel what I was telling myself, just like you. You've been dealing with that goofball for the longest. And you've been telling yourself that it doesn't affect you, it doesn't bother you. But the people on your job see that you're different. Your children see that you're different. Your relatives see that you're different. Everybody can see that you've changed except you, because you've placed yourself inside of this imagination to keep yourself illusionarily safe. You should get out of that. As a result, the mind has become increasingly sensitive to what it once would have regarded as very minor intrusions of discomfort. The children of God are entitled to the perfect comfort that comes from perfect trust. Perfect children, perfect comfort comes from perfect trust. Perfectly trust your perfect Father to have created you perfect and offered you the opportunity to enter the state of perfection so that you can experience the perfection that was designed for you. You think you were created perfect by a perfect God so that you can live flawed? That's dumb. Until they achieve this, they waste themselves and their true creative powers on useless attempts to make themselves more comfortable by inappropriate means. My goodness. How much money do you waste on food, substances, entertainment, just all kind of coping mechanisms that we develop, trying to find comfort inside of our delusion, when the discomfort inside of our delusion is the gift that drives us back to the truth? But the real means are already provided and do not involve any effort at all on their part. The atonement is the only gift that is worthy of being offered at the altar of God because of the value of the altar itself. It was created perfect, and it's entirely worthy of receiving perfection. The altar is perfect. You, perfection. Well, you were created perfect. The atonement is perfect. So we're taking a perfect gift from a perfect father, extending it to a perfect son, so that the son can be a perfect expression of a perfect truth. And when everybody does this, we'll operate inside of a visibly obvious perfect world. Don't worry about the perfect world. Worry about getting yourself in the perfected state. Don't worry about the perfect world. If you will concern yourself daily in a consistent way of making sure that you are always in the perfected state, the perfect world will flow to you even before it's something that you can see on the outside. All right. God and his creations are completely dependent on each other. He depends on them because he created them perfect. He gave them his peace so they could not be shaken and could not be deceived. Whenever you are afraid, you are deceived. You were given perfect peace. You were given all of your creator so that you wouldn't experience fear, but when you experience fear, you're being deceived. You scared? You're being tricked. This is not the one exclusion to you being tricked and deceived that's going to leave you dead if you don't acknowledge this fear. That's what all of your fears tell you. This the real one. Sanford & Son, that's the big one. That's what every fear tells us, that it's the big one. Hey, I know all the other ones were empty, void, and you should have listened and ignored them so you could have maintained your peace. But this time, this issue that the ego and its voices are telling you, it's real. Mayday, mayday. This is not a fire drill. It's a real thing. Whenever you're afraid, you are deceived, and your mind cannot serve the Holy Spirit. This starves you by denying you your daily bread. God is lonely without his sons, and they are lonely without him. They must learn to look upon the world as a means of healing the separation. The atonement is the guarantee that they will ultimately succeed. You plan from victory already. The atonement has already been done. It is said to be finished. You've been reconciled with God since the beginning of time. It's your lack of awareness of this reconciliation that has caused you to attempt to reconcile yourself in all kind of inappropriate means that you've come up with in the physical. Just accept the truth. The atonement is a free gift. It's not something you can purchase. It's not something you can earn. Stop it. Lock in.